This is Verdun. This is a World War I shooter. We recently took a look at Tannenberg, which is a close related game, and there's a third one coming in the series as well. And they aim to provide some authentic combat for the particular era. So we're on Xbox Series X, where the game has been optimized, which was quite a surprise. Same with Tannenberg, and this one shares very similar, I guess you could say, options in terms of the improvements. So what we're getting here, and this was confirmed by the PR there, is 1800p, and we have two options. So by default, it runs at 60 FPS, but there is an option in the graphics where you can actually uncap the frame rate to go up to 120 FPS. So you go to options, graphics, unlock frame rate, and yeah, you can go up to 120, which is kind of wild that they enabled that. Same with Tannenberg, and there's a number of other features that are kind of shared between the two of them, which is quite interesting. So we're going to be kind of just talking about those. First off, for the visual improvements, we get higher resolutions, obviously, because it goes up to 1800p there. Come on, give me the spawn. 6 seconds unbalance penalty, unbelievable. And there's actually people playing today, which is kind of neat. There's like, I think 11 players in this match, which is kind of cool. Like 11 real players. It's got crossplay too, which is kind of nice for a setting. And yeah, so high resolution texture, or higher resolutions, improved anti-aliasing, improved visuals with more details, an increased quality of shadows and textures, improved visual effects, and of course, as we mentioned, the support for the frame rate options, which are really cool. Now I noticed with VRR, it seems to be quite smooth and snappy, but obviously, the 60 FPS is really the safe bet, and of course, YouTube can't support 120. I can't record at 120, so hopefully you're seeing the improvement for the frame rate, because I am playing at 120, and it is a lot smoother. It feels a lot better to play, and shooters in general at 120 is kind of amazing, and you really feel like you're in this particular war scenario. It's really quite smooth, and it's really cool to see this be present here, which is kind of wild. So we've got other details, and I'm just trying to get up all my kind of info things as I'm running around shooting folks in that. This kind of like, I guess you could say it's a very different type of combat, right? You're kind of doing like deadly shots, and you're fighting in these trenches, and it's really gritty, but they have a great sense of scale. It almost feels a little bit like Battlefield or Enlisted. Kind of a throwback, Medal of Honor-esque sort of experience. And I'm quite excited for the third one to see what they do with it. Obviously we've got bots here to fill in the spots for, other real players that are kind of out there. Although I don't know if I'm killing real players or not. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of neat that we're like cross-playing with the PC and stuff, and I don't feel too disadvantaged. So this is Verdun, World War I, which we mentioned. So kind of the Western Front battles between 1914 and 1918, they push towards authentic elements of play, from the weapons to the uniforms to the battlefields, which are apparently decently accurate to the actual combat and the locations that did happen during the war, which is kind of neat. Definitely a cool kind of element if you're like a fan of the wars, the World War I era, which I think is, not really something too many games dive into. It's usually just World War II. So this is kind of cool and special because this one actually focuses on World War I action for, kind of the trenches. And there's different gore options too, in terms of like making it more gory or less gory. I think I have it on the default medium setting or something like that, but you can get more intense if you'd like to, of course. And yeah, this is very trench based, but there's like squad combat in this too. I've seen it with others, and you get different weapons, and it's kind of neat. You can kind of do these different, kind of control options for your team, and you can like turn off the HUD too, which really kind of feels even more, I guess you could say, cinematic. I don't know, it's kind of beautiful seeing it without the HUD on, but kind of having the HUD on is a little bit helpful. Gas mask. Never know when that might be a problem. Wait, is that bad guy? Oh wow, I actually got killed there. Was not expecting that, considering how well we have been taking these guys out. So they actually got historians to come in and talk about this too, which is kind of a nice touch. Wow, are we really spotting all the way back here? Crazy. So this is kind of the main mode. It's like a frontier type battle, but there's like rifleman battles, death matches, squad battles, you know, stuff like that if you want different modes to play. But this seems to be just kind of the focus for people because it's back and forth. You know, it's got a sense of claustrophobic atmosphere and combat with different weapons. It seems very authentic again, like the types of things you find, you know, on the trenches here. I think it's very well done in that regard. And like I said, you know, I did a similar video for Tannenberg, which is like a very, you know, kind of close working title of this one. You know, like basically, I guess you would call it almost a sister game in terms of, you know, not being a sequel or anything, but just being largely similarly based in setup and design. And like I said, I'm very excited to see where they go with that third one. And there's like different like unlocks and things too you can work towards, and you know, it's actually got quite a lot going on to it. And I know there's a bit of a dedicated following to this as well, just in terms of playing the different games, because they like something, so you need there. Okay, that was pretty great killing, right? Like, you know, I got a good bunch of them there. Oh, and I got pumped to the lead right away. We know intense crosshair action for combat and shooting, dynamic front lines, gloomy skies, a dark world encompassed by war.
Hold the line! Hold the line!
And you could be like as intense and technical as you want. And yeah, I hope I'm kind of giving you a good idea of like the action, how it's playing and stuff like that. But I don't really have much else detail-wise to say about this one. It's definitely improved, and it's a shock. That's the biggest thing. You know, same with Tannenberg. It's great that they actually took the time to do these. Both of them look really good. They both play really well. And I'm just genuinely surprised that they actually did that. You know, so few developers go back and take care of their older games. And it seems like they want a series where you could kind of pick and choose what fronts you want to fight on, and you get the different options. And to me, that's really exciting. You know, especially if you just want to go back and actually have something a little bit more historically based for shooters, it's kind of neat. And I think, like I said, if you played like Enlisted or, you know, the older Medal of Honors, I think you might actually be quite at home with this one. You know, just in terms of what it offers gameplay-wise, which is really exciting. Ow. And I think there's many different ways you can kind of fight along these front lines and doing battle, and you know, sometimes it gets to a bit of a standstill. That's sort of what the whole trench warfare thing is, pushing and defending, and you know, that's the fun of it. And I am actually amazed, because again, I'm a late hour at night when I'm filming this. Well, I guess early in the morning, I guess you could say. But you know, whereas Tannenberg didn't quite have as many people, this one seems to be almost flourishing even at this point. So that's kind of really fascinating, one might say, for sure. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. You just like do intense damage here where people like, you know, die right away. It's kind of crazy, and then, you know, you have these slower animations that you're trying to pop off to be able to survive against folks. Kind of exciting. And I'm hoping I'm just showcasing as well. Because I do, you know, I still, like, I did a Tannenberg video, like, quite a while ago on the 1X, and there were so many people that were, like, very, very happy to see it in action, and that was being shown off, because I think that some people, you know, well, niche, are actually, you know, these games are kind of a lot of fun that they enjoy, so it's cool to see them getting support, I guess, would be the biggest thing. Whoa! And it can be quite gnarly and like damageful. I've got to have killed, like, quite a few people. Like, I get that most are very likely bots, but I feel kind of good about what I'm doing here with the attacking and the action. So I guess I should also mention, you know, it's like 40 players lobby-wise. So, well, we have 11 that are actually playing. And the rest are going to be filled by bots, but it doesn't feel too sparse. Like, you know, it feels like there's a good amount of players kind of going on there, which is good. I'm actually wondering, you know, if we get like a true intense next-gen experience, if we could like increase the player count even more, would be really intense, right? Think of that, like, from Battlefield and stuff too, just like bumping those player numbers up and having like huge trench warfares. I think we're not too far off from that. You know, super realistic, lots of players going on in the battlefield at once. It's kind of exciting, but yeah, it's just a very different game to kind of see. Is the biggest thing, right? You know, like I said, not too many World War I shooters, few and far in between, and every once in a while you get something cool like this. Oh, it looks like we are finally moving up the front there. Huge battlefields. I mean, they might seem kind of simplistic, but this kind of, I would say, is accurate to what a you know, a front might look like with these trenches and just craters and destruction, because people were basically dying and then like entrenching because they don't want to move forward, and it was very different type of combat at the time, especially if you've read into World War I, and it's kind of interesting. I know World War II gets a lot more attention because it's a lot more intense, I would say, war-wise, because people were getting really good at making, you know, mass weapons of destruction then, but here it was like kind of a cool situation because war was changing so rapidly, and we were going from like horses to basic vehicles, and you know, there was all kinds of different impacts into the combat that were really rapidly changing how we kind of fought, and people were used to, like, beforehand, you know, sort of almost standing in a line and shooting, and then it changed to this thing where it's like you've got these more powerful weapons, and you're now kind of doing a defense, hold and attack, push and, you know, kind of pull kind of thing, and people had to come up with new strategies and that on the fly, which completely changed, you know, the war, and of course totally dented Europe still to this day, and, you know, World War II even more on top of that. But anyways, that's well, basically Verdun. Quite an experience. See you out on the battlefield.